last presenter today, gonna wrap it up. Craig Buckley. Craig, we met, I don't know, whenever you got to Brian, I think. I don't know if you reached out to me or I reached out to you.
I don't remember, actually. I remember we both were saying we should have done it before that.
Yeah, and the ironic part is he was at Pitt when I was here as an assistant with football, and we just never hooked up. And then he ended up taking a job at Bryant, and I think they came into play us or something. He was looking for a place to train. I reached out to him, he reached out to me. We got together, talked a little trash, did what people do, lifted some weights, got along. I was like, why didn't I hang with this dude? And then he started telling me he had trained with one of my assistants at the time. And it's such a small world in strength conditioning. I mean, as you know, you train with somebody like, you know that dude, I train with this, oh, that person trained with that person, knows that person. In strength conditioning, I've learned this a long time ago, the hard way. Don't piss people off. Don't be a douche. And pay it forward, because everyone knows everyone. And I truly believe 90% of us are really good at what we do. I believe that. Like, in my heart of hearts, we all have different ways of doing it, but we're all really good at what we do and getting our athletes stronger and making an impact with our athletes. And I know from what Craig's done, he is good at what he does. And he took over Brian, I'll toot his horn for him because he's not going to. And they had, 5 strength coaches in 5 years or something?
Yeah.
It's not 4 in 5 years. Something like that. And I remember the first time we talked, I said, what's it like up there? And he said, the first meeting I had with the coach said to me, how long are you going to stay? I'm like, well, that starts out well. My coach is really buying into your program. Mary Beth, how you get that buy-in? Good luck. But they are now kind of, and anyone in our league, the hot rumor is always, how long is Brian going to be in our league? Because they are kind of the athletic department. A lot of people want to be in our league. And they're doing things in our league that a lot of our schools are jealous of. And I know I'm jealous of it. We moved over here, so we have the second nicest weight room behind Bryant in the conference. And I think they're leading the way, and I think he's leading the way in our profession as well, and also in our conference, and doing some great things. And he was one of the calls I made and said, hey, I want to get you down here. And like we said, this is your 3rd time here in 6 months in this building, I think. Just happened to be there. We've got together a lot this year. So I'm so happy to have Craig here to speak, and talking about the neck, and I forget the exact, neck and head. And it's such an important topic, because as the research has come out recently on concussions, on injury rates, on neck strength, on getting a healthy brain, how important this is. So Craig, thank you for being here. The floor is yours, my man.
First of all, I want to thank, obviously Coach Hammer and his whole staff here. One, I was honored when I forget, it was forever ago, when he asked me if I'd come do it. And I was honored at that time. And then obviously when I saw the lineup of speakers, it was even more so. I'm like, wow, that's going to be my name on there too? Pretty cool. But I don't know, now that I'm last, hopefully I can follow it up with something worthwhile here for you. And when he did ask me, I'm like, all right, what am I exactly going to speak on? And then I had kind of gone, and I had bumped into a couple even high school football coaches and high school strength coaches, and we just kind of got across the training the head and neck, and how much neck strength plays a role in helping prevent or reduce concussions. And I said, wow, they had never even heard that at all. So a big part of it was, I was like, this is a message that needs to be out there. So even if you didn't take anything from me as far as like actually how to do it, how to implement it, or just training wise, hopefully I can help spread the information so we can get this out there to as many coaches, as many teams, and just spread this message as much as possible. I'm not going to say by the end of this that I'm going to have the answer of what we do of the game of football, where that's going to go over the next years, or any collision sport for that matter, as we go further down the road. But hopefully you'll have a piece, and I'm going to show you pretty much everything that I'm going to do my part to spread the message. And ultimately a lot of this is going to be about the buy-in that I've gotten from my athletes, which is unbelievable. So it's something I've become very, very passionate about, and just really want to spread the message. Hammer gave you a little bit of my story. I've been at Bryant University for 5 years. I hit the strength coach lottery at this level too, because we got to build a brand new facility. We have a 10,000 square foot weight room. I asked in December, any chance we get a new weight room? They said, I hope you're comfortable in the basement down there. And then in January they said, start putting a list of stuff together. It wasn't me. It was private donations came in, and I got lucky. So that part of it wasn't me. But obviously it was a great situation to be in, and we have grown facilities-wise. We've done a lot of stuff as far as, we have an indoor facility and done that. So I've been extremely lucky that I just landed in the right situation at the right time and close to home. Previous to that, I was at Pitt for a year, which somehow didn't meet Hammer when I was there, but because of that and some mutual people we met after that, I was at NC State for 5 years, and I started my career at Boston College too. Before that, that's where I was an intern at Boston College, assistant at NC State and Pitt, and then the head at Bryant. So kind of going into some of this stuff. I know everybody, we've kind of been beat over the head with some of this, but hopefully I can hit a couple different points here. Some of these are just the statistics. 1.6 to 3.8 sports and recreation concussions per year. That's just overall kind of everything. Reported concussions are skyrocketing, but some still go unreported. I mean, we know day to day, as far as maybe even still how coaches treat them, how your teammates might treat you, a lot of stuff still might go unreported, but there's also way more, there's way more reported incidences. Sometimes, I mean, we had one this year where the athlete said they were tired after a game and they got put in the concussion protocol. And I'm 100% all for protecting the athletes, don't get me wrong, but you don't know. The kid swears he never had one, but protect them first. But so we've just become that, but still we're probably having some unreported cases the other side. I think Peyton Manning, when he was playing, said that he would purposely fail the impact test the first time so he'd be able to pass it. That's somebody that's worth millions, and not thinking of their life beyond football, beyond athletics in general. It's pretty safe to say that it's an epidemic now, throughout all of our sports. I'll hit on football a lot because that's where we've done a lot of our stuff, but really we have all our teams doing some of this stuff. I haven't really done it with men's, women's basketball, baseball, but basically anybody that's a collision sport, our soccers, our men's and women's lacrosse, which it's even more difficult to get buy-in. I'm not satisfied with our level of buy-in at that point, but we'll get to that as we go. This, I think, is also another huge problem, and I have like a quick slide in here later, but most of the research and obviously protocols to protect the athletes, everything's what do you do after the fact? What do we do? I don't know. We keep changing our protocol of when we put kids into the protocol, what you have to do to get back to the field, and that's great because, we know that the second one or the second impact is even more damaging, so we need that stuff. Don't get me wrong. But there's nothing looking at kind of the before. What can we do? That's where I want to come in. That's where I think as strength conditioning coaches we can do it. Maybe we can recognize stuff on the field and help out that way, but also what can we do to help prevent it? Even this was one that this year we changed, that our concussion protocol, they could do the bike, they had to pass the impact test, they could do that stuff, and they could do a non-contact practice, and then they could add a contact practice before they could do resistance training with me, which, all of them aren't this case, stuff happens, but if you took a neck that was possibly weak enough to get a concussion, and then we're making it weaker for 1 to 3 weeks, however long you're out for, and then we're putting a weaker neck back out on the field for contact practice before we've been able to do anything. That one doesn't entirely make sense to me. I'm not sure what the NCAA was thinking with that one. Another one just to touch on, these are just pictures of kind of concussion damage, and then this one is actually just, really helmets were first invented to prevent the skull from being fractured, or cracking. That was kind of where that came. So sometimes you'll find out that helmets aren't the be-all, end-all answer too. So they're not as successful as people would like to think on preventing this stuff, which obviously we're seeing, through the media and through everything else. And again, just to touch on that, it's not a problem with football. Or just with football. We have soccer, we have women's lacrosse, which I think this is our longest stretch with women's lacrosse without a concussion that we're currently in. But that, it's been a huge problem. That we'll hit 3 or 4 a year that have had that in the past. I think we might only had one women's soccer. We've gone on our longest stretch without having one for women's lacrosse. We haven't had one this year in fall ball, which is actually huge for us. So That's kind of huge too. You know, what causes a concussion, you know, as we're looking into how we're going to train and what we're going to train, you know, the brain injury is linked to rapid change in head velocity. You know, so it can just be going one direction, but also the whiplash of the back and forth. You know, that's when the brain's really going to shift in there. And then, you know, in many of the studies, the head displacement is found to be proportional to the force found in the neck too. So how much you're able to have stiffness in the neck is going to be a big indicator of how much damage is going to be done, or how much the brain is going to be moving around in the skull, basically. Another one, you know, female soccer players with less neck girth and strength had a greater head acceleration compared to males when force was applied. So obviously, you know, it's strength and size, and I'll get into that a little bit later. You know, it's not just, but some of our female athletes in general will have weaker necks. So that's why you might see, you know, just from a header in soccer, which as far as forces are going to go, might not be nearly as big as a hit in football, but you're still going to see some concussions. And that's going to be a big indicator, a big part of it. This one's actually, there was an embedded internet video, so that one's not going to play, but my other one should be good. You know, on some of these statistics, you know, I don't really need to harp on these. This one on the left, I couldn't actually find much newer than, or at least a neat graphic cooler than 2013, I think this one was, yeah. Or from data from 2009 to 2013, and this is every 10,000 basically exposures, in your concussion rates. Nothing, you know, I don't want to beat you to death over this. This one I basically only put in here because, you know, now there's a $30 million grant from the Department of Defense for this problem. And again, kind of like I said, everything, basically, as far as I know, all of it has gone into kind of, you know, research of why and also even the protocols after the fact. But really, there's not much going in. You know, there's solid studies. There's a million of them on how neck strength plays a role in concussions, or in reducing concussion and subconcussive forces, and reducing the forces basically of the brain sloshing around in the head, for lack of better words. And there's really no money going into getting that message out there, which, you know, that's where I think we kind of all come in. You know, especially I want to come in, you know, hopefully if you take nothing out of this today, if you didn't know how much of a role that plays, you know at the end of this. But that's really all why I wanted to have this up here. Is it almost makes me a little mad, you know. So again, what can we do as strength and conditioning coaches? We can train the muscles of the head and neck. You know, that's really all we can do. I will admit, actually, too, that as many studies as there are out there that having a stronger neck helps reduce those forces, there's actually not a ton that are, okay, here's a neck training protocol, and this is how it's reducing forces. There's another one, you know, people that I've reached out to within this, and Dr. Cornwell, he has a certified head and neck specialist course, which I took with Mark Asanovich too. And they have some studies that they've done with increasing neck strength and neck girth. And they have some of that, but there's really not a ton of, okay, if we increase strength. You know, most of it's looking at, hey, we take a football player and we sit him down and we measure his neck strength, and then we see, you know, what the incidences of concussions are, or we're testing forces. But there's really not a ton with solid protocols. You know, this is how it's showing to reduce it. You know, on the lighter sides of things, this is also awesome about it. That was us getting ready for our staff picture, which was makes it more important than any other message I'll have here. Is we're trying to look awesome for a photo, if nothing else. You know, a lot of it, the stronger muscles, you know, will kind of allow for it, but a lot of that is the anticipatory mechanisms of it too. That I see it coming, I can tense up my stronger muscles, so I have that going for me. That's where my stiffness is. The one that, you know, that one study touched on it where it said smaller necks. The one is just a larger cylinder can dissipate more force. I mean, that's just a mathematical equation there. As far as if the neck gets bigger, you can disperse more force. That's where I think it comes in a little bit of, you know, I don't see the impact coming. You know, in lacrosse, in football, where there's contact, if you don't see it coming, I mean, you're probably going to get a concussion, but this is at least going to reduce the forces a little bit by having a larger cylinder. Fortunately / unfortunately, you won't see as much of an increase in neck size with female athletes. You know, it just really won't happen. You know, in Dr. Cornwell and Mark Hasanovich's studies, you know, they measured it and every single female got way stronger, but there was like one that increased neck size by like 1/8 of an inch. You know, and she was actually fired up, which was pretty cool. But as far as us for coaches, you know, if I tell my women's lacrosse team, yeah, let's measure your neck, let's make sure it's getting bigger, they're not really going to be thrilled about that. Or our soccer team, you know, that's not, our men have kind of come to love that, but, you know, that almost helps us with a selling point is, hey, in these studies, you know, look, their necks didn't get any bigger, you're okay, let's go over there, let's crush it on the neck machine, or let's do the manual stuff, and let's get after it. You know, you're not going to get bigger, I promise, you know, whether or not. Maybe they're that one that gets an eighth an inch bigger. But, you know, I just almost put the pictures up here, you know, obviously just different cylinders, and obviously a different cylinder from freshman year to fourth year guy for us too, you know, just differences in size. And, you know, I think because I'll have a few of our guys up here, this is the next slide, you know, part of this, I'm not up here and I don't want to be like, hey, look what I've done, you know, look what I've done with our guys. It's more the buy-in from these guys, and this is a great story too that I'll tell you about. But the buy-in from our athletes that we have guys, you know, Tom, like he'll even grab guys, you know, we might have a different protocol, which I'll get into too, and he'll be like, so did you do this? And guys might be like, well, no, yeah, I did the machine. He's like, did you do manual too? And guys might be like, no, I didn't. He's like, then you're not done yet, you know. And he's kind of like, that's almost the culture that it is. Like, okay, you're going to do extra neck stuff. And he's unbelievable. And actually, he's lacrosse and football. I think he only had 1 touchdown versus you guys. It wasn't that great of a game, but he was great. Actually, he didn't play. He just played lacrosse for his 3 years after his freshman year, and he came back to football this year and had a lights out season, buddy. And he just works his butt off with everything in addition to the neck stuff. This was an interesting one too. I had, you know, now we take pictures of all of them and we do like progression photos. I hadn't started doing it this time, so this was almost the best I could do. Although I've had these ones at Taylor, and he graduated last year. In here for a long time, but actually, and then as far as we go, in 2013, in this August actually, his freshman year, we had 13 concussions before we got out of camp in August. 13, you know, before we got out of camp even, you know, so it was insane. We were in the teens. That was really when we kind of just started doing the stuff. You know, we started doing the programs, we researched it. You know, I bought more in. Like, I will admit too, I did none. At Pitt, I did none. At NC State, I did none. At Boston College. You know, and I think that's a huge error that I could have done. You know, maybe I could have helped someone well beyond football at those schools. You know, I wish I learned more about it. I wish I did it. And, you know, I'll admit, part of me, I was like, no, if you're doing this and that, like, you're probably getting some neck stuff, you know. That's good enough. And maybe we do some upper back work, you know, you're good enough. And, you know, now I'm admitting I was wrong. You know, also with him too, this is just another point on neck training. We didn't have any machines, this is before our new room, but you know, when he first started doing it, after that concussion in 2013, I could literally take my finger and I could push his head down. There was absolutely zero resistance whatsoever doing the manual stuff. But the interesting thing about it, I mean, he would do it religiously, and you know, it's like 2 weeks later, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, you know, I can barely move you. Which, I mean, also shows me that I think those muscles, you know, by doing something, there's a huge neural component to those muscles. Even with people with larger necks, you know, they're like, oh boy, I'm not even gonna be able to move this guy. And you're like, are you kidding me? You know, but then in like a week, if they give you effort at it, you're already seeing some massive changes. So I think that's, well, obviously we all know that's all a neural component, but, you know, if you can get that started on guys and freshmen, you know, right away, day one in camp, or talk to a coach, you know, and get into it, that you can do some stuff on the field even, you know, post-practice, because maybe you don't want to crush their neck before, you know, the first contact practice, but in those first couple of days, if you can get something, you might have enough, you know, to at least enough of that neural component to get some changes over it. You know, and obviously there was a big change there too. Incidentally, he also got a lot older too. He didn't look like he was 3 years old anymore. But I use this for buy-in. I actually saved this video, which is why I have it up here. Can I get it? Yeah. Got it? Yep. And this was our last game of the season, actually last year, in Taylor's senior year to play again. You know, so I don't know if I go one more fast. I can't. I knew it played slow. Okay, so that was it. But you know, I'll actually save this one a little bit, but everyone's gonna watch this, and you know, I'll wait until I kind of think we'll show the freshman the neck, and they'll kind of do it just because I'm saying they'll do it, and I'll wait, you know, a couple weeks until I kind of see them skipping it, or I think like, hey, I haven't seen, if it's the machines or whatever, I haven't seen one or two kids go down there. Hey, I said we have manual today, and I know I haven't seen the guys do it. And I'll make sure, you know, hopefully we have the young guys when the old guys are coming in that transition, and I'll be like, all right, let's watch this quick. You know, and I'll show them the picture of Taylor, and I'll show them this, and I'll be like, look, not only are we just talking concussive forces, like, I mean, even actually the doctors that have looked at this video too are like, Jesus, you know, you might have saved his life. Like, he might have saved his life by having that strength too. I think it's the only reason he dropped the ball too. He did actually get some nerve stuff, but I mean, that's like, you know, the fact that he was basically fine, you know, was unbelievable from that. But so in addition to the stuff, and I normally swear a little bit when I'm going through it with the freshmen, you know, not only are we doing this for the concussion reasons, maybe you guys aren't going to think of that, but if you choose to play this sport, you know, maybe it saves your life, you know, and shit happens. I'm not saying that I'm going to save everybody's life here. I'm aware of that, you know, hopefully I never see something really that terrible happen on the field, but I would argue that we avoided one right there. Just another one, you know, and obviously, I'll get into it a little bit later too, but obviously you increase your body weight, you're probably going to increase your neck size too. So I'm not saying, hey, this is all our program that did this, you know, he gained 20 pounds. But just a couple of them, you know, he has had a large increase in his neck size. Which, again, going back to our results and our buy-in, you know, we've taken measurements of all the male teams too. And you know, by doing that, I think if nothing else, like, we don't have all our kids in the summer, you know, so for us, even just showing that I want to take neck measurements and like, I'm going to look at this and hey, you better be doing this when you're at home, it shows that I care, it shows importance, it shows there's something we believe in. So if you have your kids buy in, you know, if you have, you know, a lot of that stuff we've kind of talked about today, it's just one more thing to kind of tally that up. You know, we've even given position norms, which I stole them, which just another point kind of off the slides. Every single person that I've reached out to, not that there's many in this field that are that bad, but every person I've reached out to about head and neck training has been unbelievable to me. You know, from the Cornwell and Asanovich and the course and any other questions I have, they've been great. Greg Pazinski, you know, I have them all referenced in the end and in my references too. He just sent me all his PowerPoints. I don't even know how many PowerPoints he sent me. You know, we had a phone conversation. It was unbelievable. I'm like, wow, I could just, you know, if I really wanted to, if I was a douche, I could just take all these slides and just rip them off and use them myself, which was that, I think, but I've recovered. But, you know, and then Gabe Harrington, you know, and he's kind of incidental, was at Colgate, and they've done some, you know, when he was there, I want to say they went a long time without any concussions, but they even had some testing protocols. They'd use a metronome and use the machine and do it that way, which, you know, was unbelievable. But again, you know, I think, oh, I'm going to talk to him, and then we're on the phone for an hour and a half just talking neck training, and oh, what do you do, and this and that. It's just kind of cool how much people have given me, you know, because almost everybody thinks it's such an important message. Also our pictures, you know, obviously that was one, you know, pick and choose the teams you want to do it with, but I mean, we do it with our, not necessarily just the neck, but for our football, men's lacrosse, baseball, I do it with basketball. We just do them as pictures too, but certainly for those teams, I'll be like, hey, look at this, you know, But look at how small your neck was when when you were that 14.5-inch neck. We've also kind of given position goals. I've even sent them to our trainers with the girth measurements too, that if we want to be a 17, 18, and 19. Now, for some of our athletes, a 17 isn't going to happen. It's just not. It's not in there. If we have a receiver that's 156 pounds when they come in, they're probably not going to get to a 17. But when we did have from 13, and then as I think the next year we had 8. When we had that 13 in camp, it might have ended up being a 15 total. We actually didn't have as many in games. We went down to 8. And then we actually went through a span where we had 2.5 years. I think we had one returner get a concussion, and we had like 2 freshmen that even our athletic trainers were like, they might not, but he's not going to play. It doesn't really matter. We'll put him in the protocol anyway. But so we went from 13 to 8 to 1 returner in 2 years, and we actually did have 4 this year. We only had 1 returner. One got actually suplexed at UNH right on his head. And then I think we had 1 other returner who I'm sure didn't do his neck stuff over the summer too, but and then we had 2 freshman concussions. But so we've definitely seen from that 13. I've seen enough that I'm going to keep harping on this and doing as much as I can. Truthfully, I'm almost not entirely happy that we had 4 this year. I think maybe I've gotten a little relaxed, and we had the buy-in that the older guys would get on guys so much too, that I think maybe I got a little relaxed with it too, and maybe I need to get back on that. So we get that, so we make sure the next wave of older guys still has that. The results was my stories. Even our importance to me and the staff. Like the staff photo thing was kind of fun, but in turn, even just doing little things like that and using social media as an outlet to put this stuff out there. Like I've had my daughters on there. I think like one time, we were getting ready for soccer or something and put it on our Brian Strength page or something. But more than anything, as much as I kind of think it's funny, but I also think hey, this is important to me. And I will say, I swear she's been hit with a ball in the head playing youth soccer like more times than I care to imagine. So it is like, I'm like, okay, yeah, if I'm doing this, like I'm definitely doing it with my kids too. They ask me if we can do this every night, which part of it might just be delay going to bed, I'm not sure. But they ask me to do it, so it's kind of funny. I'll roll with it, and we'll keep doing it. We don't do it every night, 'cause, we're getting up late, let's get you in bed. Just a story, and that's it. But then the older one will be like, we did it Monday. Today's Thursday, we better do it tonight. And I'm like, all right. You got me. So I guess we're staying up for 10 more minutes. We now, obviously, we're lucky enough, we had the manual stuff. We're lucky enough that we have 4 neck machines. So I'll just go through, I think if you're ever in the process of being able to design a building and a facility, I know they're kind of a pain in the ass. They're a piece of equipment that you can really only use for one thing. Obviously his neck and, ours we can do shrugs and 1-arm shrugs and all that good stuff. But basically it's for one area of the body anyway. But if you have the chance to do it, it is so nice too. Especially even some of the female teams, they just won't. If you don't have a great partner on manual neck, it's just, you're not going to get much out of it too. And just to touch on some other things, there's other things that I think will have some benefit, any of the banded stuff, any of the, the other devices that you could use, but I just think you're a little limited with how far you can take that. I think you're maybe going to get that initial neural component, and then it's going to be, you maybe stay the same. So that's, as far as, I know there's been, somebody just called me and they're like, yeah, what else do you do neck? And I'm like, no, and they're like, wow, we're trying to free up space. And I'm like, no, I kind of think all of it's bullshit except for manual neck and, and the machines. So I'd keep it, but I'd think you're an idiot if you got rid of them, unless you obviously if I had a weight room that was, the size of a closet, I'm probably not going to put a neck machine in there if I can only fit 2 racks. I'll definitely do manual at that point, but other than that, I think these are your 2 best options by far. I just think they're pretty measurable too. Obviously the disadvantage, space, and it takes a specialized machine. Kind of hit on those 2 to do the machine stuff. there is like 12 or 13 different exercises. I'll get into that a little bit later that we can do on our machine. You know, if you kind of count them all up and all the different angles, all the different things you can do. But I mean, you know, the biggest one is it's easy to measure. You know, it's easy to see if kids are going up, you know, unless they're flying through stuff. You know, if you have them on some sort of tempo or you're harping on them, slow it down. You know, it's easy to see, you know, are they getting stronger? Or it's easy to see if in 3 weeks with women's lacrosse, I have to be like, hey, is that the same weight you were doing 3 weeks ago? What do you think that's doing for us? Or I'll just make you do 30 reps next week and we'll see if you do it. If you're not going to go up a little bit in weight, so we'll find out that way. And then you can do some testing on the machine too, which is huge. You know, I said, you know, Gabe when he was at Colgate, they were doing the metronome, so it was on a tempo, because it is, you know, start getting your body involved and doing all that stuff, you know, just like a lot of things. But then you could do some testing, you know, and you have some data, you have some measurable things too. They did a return to play on it too, at one point too, that, you know, if they had a baseline neck strength on everybody, so then before you return to the field, you had to be at least a certain percentage of that baseline. You know, I'm sure there wasn't coaches that are happy about that, but hey, we're trying to protect the kids. You know, kind of touch on this, but the disadvantages to manual neck is obviously it takes a good partner. Like I would say the kids that come and do it with my staff, you know, they all get way better. You know, I mean, you can cheerlead them a little bit if you have to, you know, fight me a little bit, fight me on the way down. You know, you know that they're doing it perfect. But the disadvantage also too is it's tough to measure. You know, I mean, if you do it with the same partner all the time, you know, you do know, okay, no, like I know you're getting stronger, but you know, it's not a number. You know, it's me telling you, which I can do that with anything. I can just lift up your bench press and be like, that was all you, bro. But you know, it's like, yeah, exactly. Another advantage though to it, you can be done anywhere. You know, you don't need any equipment. You could do it on the field. You know, if you do get a situation where you lift before practice, hey coach, can I have 5 minutes after practice? You know, maybe 15 if you're trying to show it, but then 5 to do it. Once they get the routine down, we can knock it out after practice, which I think is a huge advantage to it too. I mean, this is a video of it playing. You know, normally it's 75 and sunny in Smithfield. I don't know what happened in this video. That's what I tell the recruits anyway. But you know, I mean, it's just nothing fancy. You know, so we will, like, I think this is one that everybody can take out of here. And again, like I was saying, you know, I think it's the message that's the most important thing. But if you are going to add manual neck in, you know, I do think that is the second best option to a machine. Sometimes even better than machine. I mean, we still do both. We have 4 machines, so when I have a group of 60 or if I have a whole team in football, like we'll split it up that we'll do some on the machine, some off the machine, just to have a nice flow and have them work with that. But you know, obviously the spotters and lifters must know the rules and be able to communicate with each other. Like, you know, I get to that later too. I'd begin with 6 to 8 reps to start, but we'll go up to 15. You know, when you're trying to go such a slow tempo, doing much more than 15 is kind of a pain in the ass. It's going to take a lot of time, so we don't go over that. I want the guys, if they're paired up together, I want them counting the tempo out loud. I mean, I do it every single time. My daughter thinks it's hilarious when I do the, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. But I think basketball thought that was a magic trick at one point too. But you know, but I think counting out the tempo so you know that helps you a lot when you're going for it. And obviously the lowering of the eccentric phase should always be done in a slow manner with manual neck. You know, I like a 4+ seconds, so I'll always count out on a 4 count as I'm going. I just think it works pretty well. And you know, I would always pause in the contracted position if I was doing a flexion. And then you also must take a little end off in the end range. You know, if you're getting in that end range, you don't want to be cranking on them in end range motion, whether it's extension or flexion. And even as I'm going with the flexion, I'll go a little less off the head, a little bit on the jaw as we're going there, just to really be cautious of them in that end range. And it has to be extremely serious when you're doing it. You know, doing it with kids, it's, you know, you got to be on point and you can't be joking around because they could do something bad to somebody if they're not taking it seriously and do it perfect. So that is, one thing to look out for too. And, this is one you constantly have to coach is lifters don't laugh, or the person doing the exercise, they can't relax in that end range. They have to stay, keep some tension there. They can't relax because even if you're taking some off on the strength curve, with it and they totally relax, then, you're kind of going to get a little jarring, which you absolutely don't want. I think I kind of hit on this, the people that do it with the staff. Consistent partner's huge too, because you know how they do it, how they run it, you even know their ranges of motion, which actually another one I'll always start at end range of motion, just so you see that and you know what their end range is before going into the exercise. And I probably should put that on my rules. So you're not kind of cranking them into an end range motion that they don't have. But again, a consistent partner is that, and they're getting stronger as we're going. I kind of just have a couple templates up here, and actually I haven't mentioned this yet. Anybody wants me to send, I'll send you everything I have, everything from this PowerPoint. I kind of reference some studies, some of them, maybe I didn't actually give them credit for referencing them, but they're in there. So I have a bunch of studies. If you're a study person, I'll send you all those too. But I'm more than willing to share anything that I have up here too. None of this, I don't even know you need to write it down. If you want it, just ask me for it. I'll send it to you. Some of this is just the different things you can do. And I'll get into some of it later. We can do protrusion, extension. Those match up well on the machine. Sometimes we'll go manual off the machine. This day has a lot on, but sometimes we'll even go, a flexion on the machine and a manual off the machine. And more than anything, we do that if I have a large group. So if I give them, all 12 or 13 different exercises to do on the machine, they're going to be on the machine the entire hour workout. We're not going to get anything else done, which I'm not a fan of that too. I don't want to throw everything else out the window, although I do think this is important. But, again, so we might just do something. So you have this on, you have this off. You have this on, you have this off. There is a ton of movements you can do. I don't want to harp on it. You can do a protrusion. There's just the head tilts, which you kind of work in some of the smaller muscles that basically hold your skull onto your spine. Some of the smaller capitis muscles and everything too there. But those can be important. But I think if I'll get to that actually later, but there's a tilt, there's a gnaw, you can jaw, I think some shrugs, some banded overhead shrugs, some different things there. All that stuff can have value, and obviously some of that you don't need a machine for, but that's all part of your support structures. And even just being strong with your upper back, which I know everybody in here probably has a lot of stuff that they'll kind of do for their upper back. Looking around the crowd, I don't need to, I'm probably not doing anything magical there or anything better than you. But all that stuff kind of goes into your support structures there too. And this is even just a simple 3-day manual one, flexion, extension, lateral flexion, some overhead shrug stuff. But nothing crazy there. I think I have all our, they're going automatically. This is one, I even actually did this for one of our doctors wanted it for his son's football team. What are you doing? What can we do? And this is just one that can easily be done on the field, and I honestly think someone should take that $30 million and start something we can do in a youth soccer movement, obviously I do it with my kids, but and obviously I know, like I said, none of this is magical. This is just all stuff. I'm trying to read the stereotype. I haven't shot these videos cool. But he might relax a little bit there too. I think Ken's trying to defeat me with this as much as he's trying to be a demo for the video, but that's kind of where we go with that. Again, nothing, and this is obviously if we're in the weight room, I think this can be a little bit better option. I love the laying down just because you can't kind of get into those extreme ranges of motion. Like if you were going to do it with some youth or youth soccer, I'd probably just put you on the ground. I wouldn't even do off a bench. This is one where you're really going to want a partner that kind of is locked in, knows what they're doing. I'll even yell at the guys, and I just see them looking around the room when they're trying to do it with people, and I'll be like, pay attention, you count out loud. Kind of harping on it that way too. But more than anything, I put more of this stuff in here too, because I feel like this is something that everybody could take home and kind of do it tomorrow. It's nothing kind of groundbreaking. I think she likes she normally likes to count in this too, but The dog really likes manual neck too. We got to get him involved. You never know what can happen. So basically, the simple solution to this, not a solution of not solving any of this contact issues or the concussion epidemic. I'm just going to try to do a little bit of my part. But even this is directly, might even be Gabe's idea from my phone call with Gabe too. We kind of talked about it, and what's that new movement? You showed the guys a new lateral just head tilt on the machine when they're at the conference, and they said that really lit them up back there. They almost felt like they couldn't even hold their head up after that. That was awesome. But then as we're going, we're talking about that. It's like, really, if you just did flexion and extension, I think you're 90% of the way there. As a little bit of a disclaimer, that you probably do see more, but I think it's as much from not having the anticipatory forces or being able to stiffen your neck that you do see more concussions from the side, and sometimes with a little bit of rotation too. But still, I think just because there's so much crossover, your larger strap muscles, basically to do a lateral movement, you're basically working one side of a lot of the similar ones you're doing on flexion extension. And I think they would just work the smoothest on the machine, whether you're doing a manual. That's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. And if you're working with male teams, you're going to get some size increases, because you're basically hitting most of them. If you then add some lateral flexion, whether it be manual or, if you're lucky enough to have a machine or some banded stuff, I think you're 98% of the way there with what we can do as strength coaches anyway, not at eliminating concussion. And, all the other cute stuff that kind of gets you to about 100% of what you could have covered. With where we've gotten a buy-in, like, hey, I'll try this one, or hey, let's do a drop set of the machine, hole 4, hole 8, hole 12, and then you go back to hole 4 and you take some weight off and you do like 20 more reps. It's awesome. I couldn't even chew my food the next day. It was awesome. But we'll do a lot of that stuff, but it's more just kind of what we've created and kind of make it fun. And the football guys, the lacrosse guys like it. One of them tried to hang with me on the machine. It was a bad idea. But I think he had to have a liquid breakfast the next day. The drop sets, pump sets, again, that stuff makes it fun. But again, the meat and the potato is going to be that flexion extension. If you can do anything, and then if you have stuff where you can do band, you can do some rotational stuff, any of that stuff. But I think everybody, if you work with any soccers, any lacrosses, really almost any sport, I would add that in. Again, I said I hadn't had it with our basketball, but it's tough enough to get them to do a goblet squat, so. I don't know how fired up they're going to be on the neck machines. Do have like 2 or 3 of them who'll do it, but they like to pretend they're meatheads. So as we're going there, I don't even think I think it was in there. Either that or somehow skipped the slide. But there was the one study, I think we talked about this last night, or Dr. Mann is too. That said for every 1 pound you increase your neck strength, your concussion risk goes down 5%. I have a study. I can send you the study. I don't think that means if you get 10 pounds stronger, you turn into Superman. I think there's obviously a limit to that, but, it's kind of a neat study that it kind of showed some of those things, but, otherwise, maybe I'm going to try to run through that wall in a minute. I'll let you know if it works. Even just a lot of my references. Again, I said, some of them are studies, some of them are even, I think I have, the next study manual, some of Pazinski's slides. I didn't actually take any of his direct slides, but, I got some good information from him and his stuff, as far as you're going there. And again, that's all I had. Probably the best, I'm C. Buckley 1. I should have put that in here as I was sitting here and watched everybody else's present. I should have done that. I should have done a thank you slide too, but I am thankful for everybody having me here too. And again, it's C. Buckley 1 at bryant.edu. If you want any of this stuff, you just want to talk some neck stuff, any of that stuff, I have fun talking about it. If you can't tell a little bit, it's obviously a passion of mine, strength and conditioning in general, but I think this is one, I hope everybody takes this, and I don't care, go to your athletic trainers, tell them this, tell them I've had good results, whatever. I'll talk to them. They can talk to our trainers probably. I probably shouldn't say that without asking them, but, because I think, we've done a lot of things too. The trainers have done much more helmet fitting and stuff like that, so I can't say it's all our program, but, if there's one thing we can do, I think with this epidemic, we absolutely have to do it. You have to do that as a strength coach, as a responsibility. you know, as more and more studies come out, and maybe they find out that neck training, like there's more studies with a protocol, and here's what it does. I mean, maybe we'll start seeing strength coaches getting sued too, along with teams and coaches too, if you weren't doing it. You know, maybe that's where it's going, maybe not. I'd just like to stay ahead of the curve, even though, like I admitted before I knew about it, I wasn't doing any of it. I said that other stuff was enough. Part of it was my ignorance. Part of it was, I don't know if as many of the studies were out then too. I mean, a little bit of everything, you know, but once I found out how solid some of this information was, I couldn't stop digging into it and, you know, finding more. And it was great actually even kind of getting back into it, revisiting some of this stuff a little bit more. I was able to find a few more studies while I was getting ready for this too, so it was awesome. There's more and more coming out all the time. Any questions for me?
What are the primary cues that you use in coaching up neck?
I mean, it depends on whether it's manual or whether it's a machine, but I mean, 9 out of 10 times I would just try to slow them down. You know, on the machine, like I don't mind them, but I don't even want them because then they'll start to introduce momentum and use their body more, on whether it's on the machine or manual. But just trying to slow them down. I mean, that's probably my number one. You know, and like I said, even more for like a spotter doing a manual, that they know they're taking a little bit off in the end range. And when it is the flexion, that maybe, you know, you're a little bit more here, you're a little less on the forehead, just because you're a little less leverage there. You know, longer lever, obviously. You'll create a little more torque there. So, I mean, those are kind of big ones, you know, whether it's either one, but definitely slow down with it too. And, you know, I think even that creates a time under tension stuff, where I mean predominantly, you know, we're looking for some hypertrophy too, along with strength. So depending on the team, we're not gonna get too much bigger though there. We won't go there. But, you know, I mean, I think that those are the big ones. Biggest bang for your buck anyway. That you see the most problems with. Anybody else?
What are some ways you make neck training more efficient? Because I think a lot of people have maybe 2 neck machines in the room. You know, you just put it on the card and tell the guys, get it in when you can, we'll check it off, or
That is actually
start, you know.
That is actually what we've done. I mean, when it was manual sometimes, or we'll do that, and then I might even have a guy near there counting them up, and then if I think we're starting to slip, that we're not getting everybody down there, then like the next day, I'll make them all partner up and do manual before we start our lift, and be like, look, if we're not adult enough to be able to get over there and do this, then we're gonna start with manual on the turf every day. I don't even care if, you know, if you wanna do the machines, you'll do them extra, but I'm gonna use lift time, I'll cut exercises out, you know, if that's where we're going. That's not what I wanna do. And then normally, we get right back over there, you know, so it's pretty good, but you know, we've been lucky with that. But that's probably our biggest one that we'll do that, and split it up. That I might have one on the machine, one off the machine, you know, so you can go over. A lot of our guys, even, you know, if they come in, you know, dude, what's the neck today? What's the neck today? They'll knock it out before the lift even starts. You know, and I mean, in a perfect world, maybe I'd do it at the end too, but I just know I don't want to miss it. So I'll put it at the beginning. I know sometimes that's, depending on what you're training, it's a little bit of a cop-out, but you know, where I think it's so important. And I mean, I don't know that we're going to put our traps in that bad of a situation that we're, you know, trying to pull 800 pounds or something that, you know, I'm going to tear because I did neck before. I mean, most of our athletes probably aren't there, so, you know. But anybody else? No? All right. Thanks for having me.
Well, there she blows, boys and girls. That was it. I want to thank you all for coming. Obviously, without you guys coming, this isn't possible. I think this is like number 4. This is the 4th one. 4? Yes. Hopefully, our goal is to have the 5th. And to all our presenters, we really thank you guys a lot because, I mean, it's not like we're paying you $1 million to come down here. I think we paid for your lunch. So, but this is really easy to do. Like, if you guys want to do this at your universities, I would say do it. It's not hard. We spent a few hours sending some emails, making some phone calls, making a flyer. But I think as a community of strength and conditioning coaches, we need to stay together. Obviously, you just teach from each other, learn each other, because you never know. I mean, shoot. But I hope you guys all enjoy yourself. If you need anything, email me or email us. Hope to see you guys next year. Be safe getting home. All right, thank you, thank you, thank you.